Hello, my name is Michał Banasiak, and this is the Institute of New Europe series of talks within the Polish-Czech Forum project. Today I have a pleasure to host Šárka Shoup from the Czech think tank Institute for Politics and Society. Hello.
Hello, good morning, everyone.
Before we move to the big politics, because we often discuss big politics, big political projects, I would like to start with the social level of cooperation. Please point out the three positives and three negatives that Czech people feel towards Poland, towards Polish people, maybe.
Okay, I think that I will have more positives than negatives. Definitely some kind of like bilateral cooperation between Czechia and Poland, which takes place on multiple levels and issues. So I think the cooperation is quite extensive. And it's also thanks to the physical proximity and closeness of policymakers and administrations. And after all, we have kind of similar history. So I think we have also similar way of view on a lot of aspects. For example, economy, security, and defense. Also, currently now the Czechs love going to do some shopping in Poland. So that's for the positives, but for negatives, I can't really think of anything.
We talk after the first half of the year of the Petr Pavel as a president of Czechia. How would you evaluate his first 6 months as the president? And I mean the international relations, the foreign policy especially.
I think Petr Pavel, his advantage is that he is quite skilled with the languages. He knows how to talk to people on a higher level, thanks to his previous experience as a general in NATO. And he started to be quite active even before he started to be a president. And since the moment one or since the day one, he took a lot of effort to like pay attention to the international relations. Of course, his first trip was to Slovakia, but that's typically how it should be. And then he's really carefully viewing how he should handle all these international relations, especially regarding the current war, which is ongoing. And he, as a general, has quite a good overview of how to move this country forward.
Comparing him to the former president, Miloš Zeman, he is more pro-European president. Of course, also we have the context of a war, ongoing war now. But can you see any shifts in the foreign policy of Czechia in the last 6 months?
Absolutely. Absolutely. As you just mentioned, the previous president, he was more targeted on, let's say, to the east. And the current president is more targeted to the West. He's more pro-European. He's more like paying attention to the international relations within the EU and transatlantic relations. And definitely the shift is towards the communication with China and Russia.
And what about the regional cooperation? How, what, in your opinion, is his stance and his political environment stance on the V4 cooperation and also on the 3Cs initiative cooperation?
As you mentioned, he is in charge for a short term. So currently, so it's really hard to compare Miloš Zeman, who was there for many years, and now current president, who is there for a few months. But he's positive towards the cooperation and within the V4. Also, we have now the Czech presidency of the V4. So it's one of his priorities to like pay attention to that. And there are a lot of plans and things which are ongoing, and I think it's going in a good direction.
And cooperation with the current prime minister, how it works?
It's positive. It's definitely positive. I think they had to find their way of the communication, but it wasn't that difficult because they never had a grudge against each other. They didn't have any problems from previous years. For example, if it would be some politician who had some like previous discussions on their experience, they didn't. So they could start. They had a fresh start, and it's ongoing. There is legitimate discussion about the issues which we need to deal with.
In the recent years, we have seen at least a few Czech politicians involved in building good relations with Taiwan. And in your opinion, how does it look now? I mean, the relations with China and with Taiwan. How would you evaluate it? And in your opinion, how would it be built in coming years?
Well, you mentioned Milo is a man who was quite pro-Chinese, so he will always says that he believes in one China, so that Taiwan is part of the China. Current government has, or there are the people who has a different opinion. As you mentioned, there are a lot of political representation which went recently to Taiwan. It was a Pekarova, it was Mr. Trail, and they are more like into supporting Taiwan as an independent country. And we believe that this will go the same direction. This is their aim.
We've seen the, I would say, the growing impact on China. At least China is trying to make it bigger in Eastern Europe, in Central Europe, and in Czechia. Do you observe also the growing influence of Chinese politics in economy? Because we know that there is economic war not only between China and the US, but also between China and Taiwan.
The China will be always a strong partner for our countries. We just can't really afford to cut them off completely and not to get like any cooperation. Czech Republic is I don't want to say small country, but like let's say middle-sized country, and we will always have the influence here from China. There is a historical like path since since I don't want to say for, but it's nothing new for us. There was, I would say 5 years ago when it was really strong influence. There were the ideas to buy more like big companies in the Czech Republic. The COVID changed a little bit the situation. Of course, the COVID changed also the perspective for many people. I don't perceive any dramatic changes in the upcoming few months.
Let's talk about the context of the ongoing war in Ukraine for a while. How would you evaluate the condition of the Czech economy under this war condition in the neighboring area?
Regarding the energy, Czechia can definitely strengthen cooperation in the field of communication connected to Europe on cross-border transport corridors. So I think we are fighting pretty good. The unemployment is still quite low. And so we have, like, of course, the prices increase. The inflation is, compared to other countries in EU, pretty high. But there is nothing such a dramatic change except the people who are like having the problems now paying some bills. Yeah, but the current government is trying to do their best. The people are aware of the facts which are influencing them, and I would quite praise the Czech Republic in doing as good as they can.
Taking into account the economic crisis, energy crisis Europe experienced in the last months, is the support for Ukraine on the same level it was more than 1 year ago, or is it decreasing?
That's a good question. Well, the Czech Republic is one of the countries which welcomed like which welcomed thousands of Ukrainians who came here, and because of our like let's say proximity, also history. We feel with them, and Czech Republic is typically like no welcoming country for the refugees or for the migrants, but this was completely different story because we felt with them, and it was also, if we compare it to the crisis in 2015 when there was a migration from Syria and there were only like young men coming, and now the Ukrainians, they are real like women and children. So you can see completely different patterns, and Czechs like reflect it. So like before, the Czechs were quite against the migrants, but with the Ukrainians, it's completely different. And we are really trying to help them like incorporate in our society. There was a big boom at the beginning, like giving the free housing and free like getting enrolled into the kindergartens, even like they had a bigger chance to get there than like some Czech mothers were complaining that because of them they can't get in. But the solidarity level was absolutely incredible and beautiful, nice. But you're right, because it's quite a while since the beginning, like it's been over a year. The perspective is changing. Also, it was when we didn't have the crisis here. At the beginning, we were everyone doing fine, but then thanks to the war, also our conditions changed a little bit, and it's then harder to help when you are not feeling so great about yourself either. So yes, the perspective changed, got a little bit lower. Let's say our level of tolerance got lower.
There is also a question where to put the borders of help, because we know that an unlimited help probably is not possible now, also because the and on both political and social level is the support for Ukraine still, as we have to support Ukraine with unlimited help, or people think support for Ukraine, yes, but we should also think about ourselves.
This is the last sentence which you said. It's just exactly what we feel here, because we were helping quite a lot, or Czech people were really helping quite a lot. But of course, it's not unlimited. For example, when you have a house, you can just lend or let give them one house to like rent, but you don't have more to give. Or sometimes you just need to also rearrange your own life. You don't stop living, you still continue, your life is going on, and also the life of the other people around you. So I wouldn't definitely say it's unlimited. I think the Czech Republic and also Poland, we did quite a lot. I am proud of our countries, but I don't think that it can get like much higher. Also, like if we would look from a military standpoint, as Czech country or Czech Republic, we are really like small and we don't have a strong army. So that would be great if we could help in this field. But of course, then it is a question of nature. But that's the only way where I can see that we could do something more, because I think we use our limits.
And in Czech society, if we have a possibility to check it, in your opinion, now there is a support for Ukraine until the end of the Ukrainian victory, or Czech people rather think that okay, we should prepare some plan to end the war. Maybe we should start to negotiate with Russians. How on this matter, Czech people think?
Then we have to differentiate if we talk about the politicians or like the Czech society. Because of also in the Czech society, there are the groups who are supporting Russia. Yeah, they are reading, as we call it nowadays, disinformation, fake news, and they believe there is a completely different story than what is going on. And so yes, there is a part which is saying we can like we don't have to help anymore. It doesn't make sense. It's not true. And there is a part which is aware of the fact that if they don't stop Russia, or if we don't stop Russia now, they will continue, and they will continue to other countries. Yeah, because why not? If we can do one country, why not to do the other country? And I would say the majority is scared of this. So they would prefer to help, continue helping. until it's done.
You mentioned...
Also,
yeah, please continue.
Sorry, also we have still like the people, or like for example my parents or my grandparents who are living in a communistic regime, so they still like know, for example, how it is to be oppressed by other country, or how it is to be kind of dictated. And yeah, we also learn from the history, so this helps to this generation, which is quite clear opinion.
You have mentioned the Russian disinformation spreading, for instance, probably in social media. Is it a big issue in Czech now?
It is a very big issue. Yeah, I would say it was a big issue at the beginning, and it was so well done, like that it really looked so real. And there were like the information which you would like believe even like yeah, it was just incredible how well prepared everything was. And but there was a I think it's like not even a year ago when government was thinking that they should close like some disinformation websites. Uh, at the end, there was a big discussion about it because then it's like freedom of speech, right? If we should be doing this or we shouldn't. I have a feeling that now disinformation are a little bit less because it's quite like there are a lot of people who started to work on it and to like show the truth, show the reality. So it's not as strong as it was at the beginning. But at the beginning, I believe that like a lot of retired people who are just watching or finding stuff on the internet or receiving the emails and so on, there were the chains of these things, and they believed in it. Yeah. So yes, it is a big thing. We are working on this as an institute as well. The government is working on it. But I think, and maybe I'm naive, but I think it got better.
Ukrainian membership in NATO and the European Union. Is it a discussion at the political level in Czechia about it?
Yes, it is a discussion. Actually, next week, our institute is preparing or is presenting a paper about this and the suggestions about this to the government. So it is a constant discussion because it can influence all our life regarding the security and defense. Yes.
And in your opinion, and also in your opinion on the opinions of Czech politicians, how the situation look now? Is it the Czech politicians and also the Czech society support membership of Ukraine in NATO and in the European Union? Of course, we both know that it's not possible to make it now under the war conditions, but when the war ends, is there a support for that, or there are some divisions that some politicians say yes, some say no, because we have the big rival on the market, for instance, on the grain market, on the labor market. How does it look in Czechia?
So regarding the labor market, we have no problem with that because we already have here a lot of Ukrainians who are working here. They are doing a great job. They are normally officially employed. And so like even when there is a fear now these days, people will steal our jobs. This is absolutely not the case for Ukrainians. So for the Czech society, this wouldn't be a problem. Of course, if you think it from the point of view that if they join European Union, of course they will not be the big country who is like giving or putting money into European Union, but they are receivers. So the distribution of the money, of course, would change a little bit, and that's a worry. But I think probably politicians are thinking this way, not the Czech society. Yeah, so the Czech society doesn't have such a big concern, so because it's a little bit bigger picture.
And NATO, because NATO is probably more obvious.
Yeah, NATO. I think the Czech people regarding the NATO have no issues whatsoever. But of course, if you think about it, it would be safer for Ukraine. Obviously, it would be less safer for maybe the countries in the NATO currently. Also, we have some Czech people who are right now. I was reading in the news again some guy who was like running to Russia to help like Russian sides. If like the Czech country would officially get involved, then like NATO is getting involved, then we are opening a third world war. So this is bigger concern.
Can you see any shift in the way of thinking about the international relations, especially in the European Union, after the war in the last 1.5 year? Do you see that politicians, both politicians and the people, think differently about how the European Union works, how the NATO works, and how should we cooperate in Europe?
People, Czech people are a little bit happy that now the European Union is a little bit slower than everything, also NATO, that it's not so easy to change. Of course, they want to help, as you mentioned, Ukraine, but they are aware of the like military aspects or defense or security aspects. So people think about it much more now and are more careful. And so they are less critical, I would say, towards Brussels, because they see that it's not just yes, no, very easy decisions about everything, but it just has bigger consequences.
And another question I have for you is, what about, in your opinion maybe also of your institute, what is the time perspective for the Ukraine joining? Let's start with NATO.
Well, as you mentioned, it would be bigger question after the war, because currently, right now, everyone is unsure, insecure, and it would be too risky. So, and when the war will end, I have no idea. I have no idea. Of course, we thought it would be like done within a few months. It starts to be quite long, too long, but I don't think we will solve this before the end.
So I will not ask you about the European Union, because probably it's even more difficult issue. But what about the program, maybe some governmental program or private companies programs, ideas how to rebuild Ukraine after the war? Is it a discussion about that in Czechia? In Poland, we have many, not only ideas, but we have also many projects gaining on that matter. And how does it look in your country?
Well, dozens of Czech armed companies already cooperate with Ukraine. But however, Ukraine currently needs companies operating in civil sectors as well, and the need of it will increase with the end of the war. There is a plan, of course, to help with the reconstruction, because this is one of the Czech priorities. Successful post-war reconstructions for all of us. It's not only about Ukrainians' victory, hopefully, but also about the reconstruction. And Czech Republic is absolutely ready 100% to be involved in this. So yes, so we have a lot of like also the priorities within the V4. It's not just regarding the security and defense, but also for like the culture or education or research area. We will definitely try to work on like on higher level, have a bigger network of the partnership, and the companies are like already now interested and would love to help. And it's amazing that even like the private companies who like really are not looking for, I don't want to say only their benefits, but yeah, it's not only for them, but it's also for benefiting generally the situation. Because it's not just a war there, it's war. Yeah.
Are there any political parties on the Czech political scene? I mean, the parties which are somehow visible on that scene, which now still have ideas to cooperate with Russia, to negotiate with Russia, which try to convince people that after the war we still will have to live with Russia on the same continent, and we somehow will have to make, for instance, some economic cooperation working again.
Do you mean the parties who are pro-Russian?
Yes, pro-Russian, or maybe not only pro-Russian, because pro-Russian is quite a hard stance, but at least not so much pro-European, pro-Western. Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, we still have these parties as well. I could mention, of course, SPD is the extremist party led by Tomio Okamura. And they are special. I always have to laugh about them because also their campaigns and what they are saying, it's incredible how many people are still believing them and voting for them. But they are the leaders in disinformation scene, absolutely. And this is what we should be aware of. But yeah, so we have this, for example, this political party.
We have this kind of parties also elsewhere in Europe, and do you think, is it a possibility for them to change their agenda, or they just chose to make the support for them this way, and it is not possible to shift their stances?
Exactly, they are gonna build this, or they are building their support on this program because the voters are the people who are supporting this point of view. And I would say this is the only party, so they get all these voters. That's why maybe they have like this 10-12% support. I don't think there is a need to change their opinion on the European level because they are not having such a big reach. It's more in the Czech Republic, but in the Czech Republic, yes. Also, I think thanks to them, there were a lot of people who started to be more interested in disinformation and revealing the truth. Even like during their free time, like just really like, come on, people, you really can't believe that. They were also experts in disinformation during the COVID. What they were saying, it was just insane. And even really like smart people, like doctors, they were believing them because they are really so persuasive. But luckily, there's still a lot of people who are able to relieve the truth and discover that this is all just like fake news. But it's interesting that they are so powerful, and again that the people are still giving them the support. So it might be a threat if they would get bigger. They are not small, but they are not that huge. Like they don't have like 25%. So I think it's still within the range. And they found their way how to succeed in this direction, and it's working.
Thank you very much. Šárka Shoup was the guest of the Institute of New Europe.
Thank you very much. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.